Well, gang, Carolina Gamecocks, I'm coming at you on Monday evening. Hope everybody had a good day today. Want to get into a little bit of South Carolina Gamecocks football, especially preseason camp news and notes. But before I get into that, if you're new around here, since you're around here, consider subscribing to the Carolina Jackpot channel. We have a heck of a good time here doing college football content all year long. So the Gamecocks with a scrimmage, their first scrimmage of the fall camp on Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium. And from what I'm reading over on the message boards and, from those who were actually in attendance for the event or part of it, it seems like the defense kind of won the day. And that's kind of what you would expect from a team like South Carolina, who lost a lot of talent off their offense and is replacing it with a lot of young players and a lot of transfer portal players. They are extremely upperclassmen laden over on the defensive side of the football. Not by any means to say that they're a dominant defense, that they're going to be a top 5 in the country defense. But their defense is expected to perform at a higher level than what it did the first half of 2023. It's expected to perform like it did the back half, the last 3 to 4 games of the season going forward. They added some nice pieces from the transfer portal over on that side of the ball as well. But just from everything I'm hearing, I was really wanting to find out how the offensive line looks, and the only thing that I can come up with from this information is that it was status quo. To me, that means it was all right. It wasn't great, but it wasn't horrendous either. I had a Gamecock fan over on another YouTube video who left this comment, and I kind of cropped out his name here. Take a look at this one. Okay, so he says that he knows an insider who's been to all the practices and that the offensive line is heads and shoulders better than any of the ones we've had the past 10 years. Bruh. Look, so I cropped his name out because, look, I'm not here to embarrass another one of our fans, and I'm not here to call bullshit on the insider information that he might have gotten. Look, here's the thing. When the person who's writing for the column over there on the message board is telling you that it was status quo, it was status quo. It was okay. It was not heads and shoulders better than anything that we've had the past 10 years. First of all, they've only been in pads for like 2 to 3 days. So they haven't even had time to become that yet. Second of all, the last time this group was out on the field together playing as a unit, it looked horrendous. It was probably the worst game South Carolina had terrible offensive line performances all year last season, but it bookended them against North Carolina and Clemson, their 2 ACC opponents. Bookended the season against ACC opponents with probably the most piss-poor showings of the season in terms of the offensive line. Look, I know we had some injuries, but here's the thing. Against North Carolina, you were the healthiest that you would be all year long, and you gave up 9 sacks to a defense that was not good. They looked good in that game. Everybody in the national media was like, "Where did North Carolina defense come from? What's going on here? Wow, Guess what? Their offensive coordinator, Gene Chizik, ended up getting shown the door at the end of the season. Now, they weren't good. We made them look good. That was the healthiest that you would be all season. Against Clemson, you no-showed. You did not show up for the game. And albeit Clemson has a good defensive line, they always have a good defensive line. But last year's, it was far from, it was not an elite defensive line that they had by any means. not by any means. In fact, in 2018, the offensive line blocked Clemson, who had a front four, which is all playing in the NFL. Blocked that front four a hell of a lot better than that offensive line blocked the front four last season for Jake Bentley back in 2018. So, no. So that tells me right there, there's no way that they made that much improvement in one off season plus 3 practices. No, sir. I don't believe it. I'd like to see it. I wish it was. But I will tell you this: if they can perform at a C level this year, that's all I want. Anything on top of that is gravy. If they can perform at a C level this year, Rocket Sanders will rush for 1,000 yards, and you'll make it back to a bowl game. Anything above and beyond that could be the cherry on top of the sundae. That's where the team's successes and failures are going to hinge. It's that offensive line play. So I really didn't get a whole lot of information about that. I did see they had some some 3-on-3 battles and stuff, and I read that Tonka Hemingway, senior defensive tackle, like 5th-year player, totally dominated Vershawn Lee, who's a 2nd-year player, and kind of pushed him into the backfield and into the ball carrier. So that's discouraging there, but that's one route. So we'll see what happens with that. Running back wise, Rocket Sanders didn't play in the scrimmage, but he's been practicing all week long, and he practiced on Sunday. So I don't know if they're just holding him out of these scrimmages because they don't want him really facing that much live action. Because it's just been decided he's going to be RB1. I really don't know. Shane Beamer in his press conference said that when they're doing drills, he has to tell him to tone it down a notch. He doesn't want him to get re-injured. And I get that, but the thing is, it's a fine line between holding back so no one gets injured versus we're going to be soft for game 1 because we haven't had any contact. We can't have that either. You can't set up every drill, have every scrimmage. Everything cannot be dictated by, well, we had a bunch of injuries last year. Let's not go full bore in this drill because so-and-so might get hurt. I just don't think that that's smart. Now, obviously, your quarterback shouldn't be live all the time. Maybe Rocket Sanders shouldn't be live all the time. What is it? They wear like a yellow jersey or a blue jersey or something when they're not supposed to get hit. But these guys have got to experience some kind of contact there. The pads has got to be a popping, in other words. So I really would like to see that. You're not going to come out of this fall camp without some kind of injuries. There's been a couple of guys beat up, banged up a little bit. Nothing serious, though. Haven't heard of any ACL tears. Knock on plastic. We had several of those last year. Linebacker Mo Kaba, who's had several knee injuries, seems to be rehabilitating really well, and he's out there practicing. And this would be his. I don't know if this would be his last year or not. He's been around forever, but he's been injured a lot, so I have no idea how much time he has that he is still actually eligible to play. But he can be an absolute stud and is a legit star if he's healthy. Talked about the schedule a little bit. Look, the schedule, I've said it a million times, this schedule is what it is. South Carolina's schedule, it actually doesn't rank near the top of the toughest in the SEC, believe it or not. There are some teams who have it worse than we do. So these people who are belly aching about that's just a hell of a schedule. Guess what? The next year it's going to be the same damn schedule, except it's going to be in reverse. You're going to play the same teams, and you're going to swap sites. If I'm correct in saying that, I think that's what's been determined. It could be worse this year. It could be a little easier, but it's right par for the course. Some years you may have it a little bit easier than others, just in terms of who you're playing or just in terms of how those teams are performing at that point in juncture in time. I mean, this year, I mean, yeah, you're taking on Alabama, but at least you're not taking on Georgia. You're taking on Oklahoma on the road, but at least you ain't playing Texas on the road, right? But I mean, you can look on the flip side. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got Alabama. I mean, you'd rather have Auburn. You got Ole Miss. You'd rather have Mississippi State. You got Mizzou. You'd rather have Tennessee. I mean, we cannot control that schedule. You can't dwell on it. You've got to go out there and just play the games, have a solid game plan, and you can beat some of these teams. I feel confident South Carolina can beat some of these teams. Maybe not on the strength of the coaching of Shane Beamer, but almost at this point in time, in spite of him, I've said it a million times, I really want to see him be successful. And I'm really trying to lay off of him this year until he just forces me to go all in on him, which I will if it's necessary to do so. But I've said a bunch of times too, I don't think he's the guy. I think he's too nice. I don't think that he holds his coaches accountable. I don't think he picks the right guy. I don't think he puts the right people in the right positions. I mean, just looking at, just looking at how many rushing yards you've had, or what, your yards per carry, and negative rushing plays that you've had the past 3 to 4 years, and you're bringing Sean Elliott back on staff. To me, I don't know. It's almost a no-brainer that you put him back in charge of your offensive line, and this other dude, Lonnie, whatever his name is maybe you let him take care of some of the recruiting stuff, because he's a good recruiter. Well, we thought he was a good recruiter. He didn't get that dude from Maryland. But I wouldn't hesitate to put him back in charge of the offensive line. And that's probably what will happen if the season starts to go sideways, and a lot of it is hinging on the offensive line. I can guarantee you that that switch will be made, but is it going to be too late to make it? We'll have to see how all that pans out, but I'm not really worried about South Carolina's defense. I always am concerned about them stopping the run. I feel much more confident about them versus the pass. I feel more confident about their pass rush, and that they're going to be able to generate some momentum in that, in terms of Kyle Kennard coming off the edge, in terms of Dylan Stewart. I think these guys are hell of an addition to the program, and I'm looking forward to see what they do as well. But we're a little bit less than 3 weeks away from college football. We're a little bit less than 2 weeks away from week 0, where we do actually get to see some games. We got one game that's going to be a decent one to watch. I think the rest of them are just kind of satisfy the appetite. I mean, nobody's going to be excited about seeing SMU play Nevada in week 1 or week 2, but in week 0, every eyeball in the country will be glued to the TV set for that game. Any eyeball that's interested in college football, that is. So I know I definitely will be tuned into it as well. And that brings up something else before I get out of here, guys. Callaway's College Football Pick'em Challenge. We've got a pot of over $1,000 now, guys. This pot that the winner, second place, and third place in this contest are going to take home with them is going to be determined by how many of you folks get into this contest. I've heard people tell me that they're going to let their friends know about it. They're going to let people at work know about it. Continue to do that. It is $20 to get into this thing for the entire year. Link down in the description box below that's going to explain everything to you step by step. You have to have Venmo, PayPal, or Cash App to send Carolina Jackpot the $20, and you are in. Just make sure you let me know in the notes section on that payment that you send me what you want to be called in the contest. If your name is John Smith, but you're a Georgia fan and you want to be called Big Dog John 14, then put I'm Big Dog John 14, and I'll get you hooked up. I'm also going to link down in the description box below a tutorial video that Rob made last year concerning the contest. It tells you how to sign up. It tells you how to get into it. There's really no sign up. It's really just you pay your money and then you start picking games. against the spread as soon as we drop the games for week 0. We're going to do all 4 of them. We'll drop them that Tuesday before the week 0 action. We'll drop them about every Tuesday from there forward. We will recap the games on the Sunday night show every week that we do. And on the Wednesday night show, we will recap, we will make our live picks for the Saturday games. And that's how that'll go. But anyway, I want you to see you guys get into this contest. I really want to see somebody win some money. 70% of the pot is going to go to the first place winner. 20% of the pot is going to go to the second place winner. 10% of the pot is going to go to the third place winner. That's awesome. I mean, if we have a $3,000 pot and you get in third place, you win $300. That's a $280 profit just for basically sitting on your butt, scratching your rear end, watching football, taking your phone out a few days before, and picking some games against the spread. Anyone can do it. And I want to see somebody win that pot this year, and I want it to be the biggest pot that we've ever given away. So, with that being said, get into this Cowboys College Football Pick'em Challenge. If you have any questions, you can email Carolina Jackpot at the address KL8670@AOL.com or Rob Sanders or R.O. Sanders 1979 at gmail.com. I'll see you guys and gals later. Appreciate it. Peace, and I'm out of here. Go Gamecocks. Woo!